Hello YouTubes, today I am going to try and make some budget loads for my hoppers, but unlike everyone else on the planet, I'm not going to fill them with coal. I'm going to fill them with something with a bit more bling. We all need a bit of bling in the layout, right? For today's project, I will need some scrap styrene. This is the same stuff I used all around my layout for the base. I'll need some cheap white PVA glue. Sets clear, that's important. It also sets matte. I need some dollar store paint. I'm going to go with black, but depending on the load you're putting on, you might want to change the colour of the paint. And a jar of dollar store gravel. Not this one though, it's not blingy enough. Now, because I will be using styrene, it doesn't cut very well with a knife, so I'm going to be using my hot wire cutter specialist tool. It's like $30 for a whole kit. I use it all the time, you should get one of these. And I'll be doing this in 4 stages, let me list them. Stage 1, measuring, cutting and shaping our foam to fit our hopper. Stage 2, painting our load. Stage 3, gluing our gravel to our load. And stage 4 will be securing our load with some diluted glue. Now, because there's going to be a lot of waiting about for paint to dry, glue to dry, it's probably a good idea to do these in batches. I happen to have 3 of these exactly the same size, so I will at least start with doing 3. But if you've got a whole fleet of hoppers, then you want to do them all at the same time. If you know what I mean, each stage, do a batch of cutting, then a batch of painting, then a batch of gluing. It'll make sense. Right, let's get started. This should be fun. Right, let's measure this. What do we have? We have, using a really crap ruler that doesn't go all the way to the edge for the starting measurement. That's really annoying. It is just under 6 inches, so that's fine. 6 inches by 1 1/4. Okay, let's do that. This doesn't have to be exact. We can always trim it down where we need it. Let's not waste all my foam because I am going to be using this one. How long is that bit? Not long enough. Whatever, it's all scrappy anyway. Right, so let's go 6 inches by 1 1/4. By 6 inches. They're too big than too small at this stage. We can always trim it down. It's much harder to add more. Okay. And I'm just going to add a T for top so that I don't get my orientation mixed up. Now what I'm going to do is cut this out, shape it, and then if everything's good, we'll use that one as a template so we don't have to measure everything independently or individually. So I'm going to cut this out roughly for now. And then we'll fine tune it once it's separated from the block. Boing. Okay, now we do need to take a bit of care here. I think what I'll do is, let's see now, probably best to try and keep the wire stable and pull this against it rather than trying to pull this down that way. We'll see. Because at least I can hold it firm against the base here. Fairly straight. Yes, I quite like that technique. Let me do the same with the other 3 sides. Okay, and we will grab a bit lumpy there, but don't worry, we can trim that down. Let's see if we're close. if we're close, although that's the top, so probably not. Almost there. Don't worry about the... Oh yeah, that's actually quite a nice fit. Maybe I'll change the T to a B. That would make more sense, actually. Okay, now obviously that's sticking out a bit too high, but before we start trimming this down, there is something I want to do on the underside. Now, if you can see in here, there's some ridges there. There's also slopey bits there. So we need to kind of shape the underside, which is, let's just change that just now. So that's not T anymore, that's B for bottom. I said bottom. Okay, so what I'm going to do is cut a couple of notches there, 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 and there, and also slope these sides like that, so it all slots down. The best way I've found to measure where to do the slots in the middle is to place that inside and kind of squidge it down a bit. And you should get little imprints there and there of where we're going to cut the wee notches, okay? So, we're just going to do a little diagonal in and out. Doesn't have to be perfect. And there, same on the other side. And we need to cut a sort of diagonal. Doesn't need to be perfect either. And let's see how that slots in now. And it just makes the whole thing a bit more rigid. Excellent. Next step then, I'm going to trace around this whole edge here, and that's going to be the absolute lowest it's going to go, and we're going to slope it up the way, but let me run a Sharpie around there first. So obviously that would be too high. So when we take this out, we need to kind of start below this line. Right, this is quite important how we shape this. We want it kind of ingot shaped. So from each line, it's going to slope up, up, up. You'll end up with a little rectangle along the top, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So we're just going to go just below the black line. Sort of 45-degree angle. Same on the other side. Both ends. And then we're going to get rid of this ridge. Now, if you're using the pink foam, the fancy stuff, you can actually sand it all, but I don't obviously have the pink stuff, so I'm going to have to do it all with the hot wire because it's a wee bit ridgy at the moment. So I'm just going to gradually get rid of all the sharp edges. And the more random the shape, the better. Looks a bit more natural, right? And you can spend as much or as little time on this as you like. I've completely wrecked that bit, but that's okay. Let's just trim that down a bit. This is the fun bit, actually. If you've got one of these wire cutters, hot wire cutters, you'll know what I'm talking about. Sort of thing that your mum would have freaked out at you using when you were a kid. Because it's going to be very easy to burn your finger if you're not careful. But we're all grown up and very careful. Right, let's see how that looks in the hopper so far. I think that is looking actually really great. Now, what I didn't do before I did all that cutting was take a template, but you know what? It was easy enough just to measure it and cut it out individually. I think it might be a wee bit high just there at that black line. You see where I didn't go below the black line? So I'm just going to take a wee trim off of there, and then we'll be ready to paint. Best way to get these out, again, is actually using a couple of cocktail sticks, especially once you've got glue and gravel on it, okay? Right, let me finish shaping that and then we'll paint it. Okay, I think that's shaped the way I want it now. Lovely. Let's get some paint in it. Right, what I was saying about the cocktail sticks. Jam them in there, lift it up. Much easier than picking away at it with your nails, especially if you don't have much in the way of nails. I'm going to use these cocktail sticks to hold it when I paint it. No point just using one, it'll just spin around. There we go. Let's get some paint on it. You're probably wondering why I'm using black if I'm not using coal. Don't worry, you'll see what I'm filling it with soon. Let me give this a bit of a once over. My stick fell out. Now I have to get my finger all painty. Okay, you don't need to worry too much about the sides. You're only going to see the very top section anyway. That looks good enough for me. So while we're waiting for the paint to dry in that one, we can cut and shape the other hopper loads. And then we can paint them, and then by the time we finish doing all that, hopefully the paint will be dry in the first one. You can see where we're going with this. Bit of a procession. So yeah, let me get with the cutting. I'll see you when the first one is dry. Our first hopper load should now be ready for the next stage. Let's make sure it still fits. See how it looks so far. I mean, even without anything on the top, that looks pretty good. I'm really pleased with that. So what am I going to make this hopper carry? Amethyst. What is amethyst? Amethyst is a crystal gemstone, usually used by hippies for its healing powers, I believe. Anyway, it's a kind of purpley, different shades of purple, and I'm not actually using amethyst, but it kind of looks like amethyst. Let me show you. I really need to stop saying amethyst. Oh, say that again. Here's what it is. Kind of looks like that. A nice deep purple, gravelly looking crystal-y substance. So the next step then is I am going to apply glue to this, and then I'm going to stick it in there. Force all the amethyst into the bed and then wait for that glue to dry. So let me slap some glue on this. Do a line along the top as we did with the paint. Now, I do want to be careful that I don't go over the area down the sides, because then it's going to struggle to get in to our actual hopper. So only down to the area before it goes vertical. Okay. Like so. Now we're ready to dunk it. Really push it in there. Get it to stick. Remember to tip it up. Get your edges done. And that should look great. Like so. Give it a wee bit more. Make sure it's all in there. Can always add a wee bit more in the next stage once this section is all nice and dry, because we will be adding some diluted glue over the top once this part is dried off. A bit like we do the ballast with, just to harden it all. But again, I don't want it going beyond this vertical area or it won't slip into our hopper. The whole point of doing it like this is that it's going to be interchangeable. So if you decide that you've run out of amethyst and now you want to start collecting coal again, we can just make the same but with a coal topping and swap them out depending on the job we're doing that day, right? So I'm just making sure we're not encroaching on the vertical sides, and that'll be done. Give it a little pat down. Oh, come on. I'm just being a wee bit too fussy here. You're not really going to see the stuff at the very edge, to be honest, so you don't need to spend as much time as I am. Okay, I am going to put this somewhere to dry. And meanwhile, I'll get the other two done. See you shortly. We are now ready for the final stage, securing the load. So I will be using some isopropyl alcohol to release the surface tension. And then I will be using a mix of 1 to 3 glue. Again, it's just PVA. And this does take a while to harden, especially 1 to 3. Some people use a 50-50 mix. So it's 1 part glue, 3 parts water I'm using. I just feel it seeps into all the little gaps better than the 50-50. But as I say, it does take a bit longer to set. So let me squidge this everywhere. And now we wait. I am going to leave this overnight and I'll see you in the morning. Good night. Good morning. Let's see how our hopper loads have turned out. Yep, that seems fairly solid. Nice and natural looking. Make sure there's nothing along the sides that's going to foul them. Right, let's try them. Oh yes. Just squish that down a wee bit. That seems fine. That's number 1. Number 2. And 3. 3 hopper loads. Oh, excellent. Very happy with them. I think this is my favourite. Am I allowed a favourite? Sure. Excellent. So there you go. Cheap and simple hopper loads, albeit a wee bit time consuming with the paint and the glue, but that's going to be the same in any of these homemade hopper loads. But I think that's really great. And that's going to work with all sorts of colours, so you could use coal if you want to be boring, which I will do, by the way, because I've got some, I think I've got some Suline hoppers that would look nice with the black contrast, and I've got some of this sort of brown ballast, and there's the coal colour, and I've got that original colour I showed you, the sort of sand colour, so I can make a whole pile of these in that shape and we can interchange them depending on the mood that I'm in on that day. Right, I'm going to throw these in the truck, take them a spin around the layout, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Hope that helped. I really enjoyed it. Bye for now.